Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ultima, or another of the Ultima's videos. Today is actually a sad day on the channel because for the past, you guys will understand, this is not my PlayStation. This is my Xbox. Um, Whenever I want to do a one-shots or something, most of the games I do those one-shots are games from my Xbox. Um, and this just happens to be one of the games on my Xbox because, unfortunately, let's get into the game here. Final Fantasy 15, not the best Final Fantasy by far. They could have done a lot better. And what I mean by that is if instead of releasing, the 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 base game and then the rest of all of the supplementary material as either DLCs or a feature-length film or a 12-episode OVA anime, instead of doing all that, just bundle it all into the one game, um, which is what I would rather have them done. But at the same time, um, it's not the worst game. I would say the one that is hated the most um, is Final Fantasy 13. That was absolutely it was beaten to death like nobody other. Um, but to be fair, yeah, I can't access my PlayStation right now, so I did say God of War. There'll be another one of those before I go back to doing Persona, but God of War and Persona are going to be on a hiatus until I can get this PS4 sorted out and the problems with it. Um, I do have to say though, I actually really, really do still like Final Fantasy 15. It's not that I absolutely hate it. A lot of people think that the things that Final Fantasy 13 does right are things that Final Fantasy 15 is missing, and the things that are Final Fantasy 15 does right is what Final Fantasy 13 was missing. Um, and maybe in the next, with the next game in the series, Final Fantasy 16, um, maybe they can combine all the things that people loved from 15 with all the things that were actually decently good about 13 and make kind of like something that strikes a balance in between rather than something that goes to Final Fantasy 15's extreme and Final Fantasy 13's extreme. Also, there was just Final Fantasy 15 has the one game and DLC. Final Fantasy 13 had 3 games. Um, you guys might be wondering where I got this outfit from. This is actually in this game is one of the few things I actually kind of find fun about this game is that you can change your outfit, and different outfits have different properties. Like this one, I got from a special event, and all these different outfits have different um they have different things. Like that one apparently gives me better HP than I had, So I could be a luchador with all his luchador mightiness, or I could trade it for this that gives me better strength and vitality and stuff like that in defense, or I could trade it for my Power Ranger suit, which is called the Magic Tech Exosuit. But it's literally just Final Fantasy's version of a Power Rangers Super Sentai outfit. All of the characters have this have like their own set of outfits. Noctis has the most um, outfits. To be fair, there was an Assassin's Creed crossover event for Final Fantasy 15 that happened um, a while back these are their. I'll put them back into their base outfits for now. But yeah, as I was saying, I just haven't been able to in the past week or so get my PlayStation to work. It was working, and then something happened after my after something. I think it started happening after my brother nicked the controller to use it upstairs so he could play Zero Horizon Dawn. But but yeah, something happened. There was an update supposed to be happening for the uh where is it, the PlayStation, and apparently it needed the controller for that. Don't know why you'd need the controller for that. All you have to do is turn on the console, turn on the controller, make sure it's all connected properly, and then you just press the OK button and let the update happen. If the controller turns off in the meantime, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. They have this thing called timed quests, and timed quests give you QP. They brought that in at one point. What is the time quests available? That one, chapter 3 on onward. Okay. Uh, and then you can get some items from that. Um, this is how you do magic. You take your fire, your lightning, and whatever. You can combine the three elements into one. And potency, that just means how much power is behind it. And uh, the Roman numeral for 3 there represents what level spell it is, and times 3 just tells you uh, how many uses you can get out of it. How many times can you cast this spell? And if I was to put like a potion in it and then healing level 99, so the healing effect of this will give me a level 99 healing effect if I was to put that in. I could go even higher, and it'll increase how much I can use. So, yeah, it's just things you can. So basically, you can combine spells with items, and they'll give you some good stuff. Um, they could also increase the potency. So yeah, let's use building stone, and we'll do that. And we craft. Now we've got 3 unicasts and a potency of that. Okay. And I can give the unicasts to anyone who has an affinity for using magic, which is basically everyone. Um, in other games, Final Fantasies, the magic system in it changes depending on what kind of way they want you to utilize magic. In Final Fantasy VII, they were little rocks known as materia, which were crystallized forms of Mako energy, which Mako energy is energy generated from the life stream. And yeah, that's how magic forms. It forms little rocks that you can imbue into your armor or weapons, and that's how you get that. In Final Fantasy 8, they had the draw mechanic where you would go up to a uh, I would say you would go up to like some sort of like, you know, I don't know, maybe monster or creature. So basically, you get into battle, you go up against a monster or creature, and you can use the draw command on the monster, and it'll allow you to draw the magic they have. Up to a certain amount and number of times you can draw from them. But also at the same time, you've got magic spots throughout the land of Final Fantasy VIII that you could draw magic from as well. Um, it was a lot. It was very grindy in 8. Like when you had to, like when you wanted to get like enough magic to use in a particular fight, to make sure you had enough so you didn't run out in the middle of a fight. It was kind of tedious and grindy. Final Fantasy 9 had something similar to 10, but it was through these particular stones, and you use these stones, you equip them to uh, ability slots. Like, you would spend them on ability slots. Um, but you have to have a certain weapon or piece of armor in order to access the ability. So you have to equip armor and weapon first. Then the ability will become available if the character can learn it, and then you can equip the stones to the character, and then that will help you level up that character's abilities. So, my quests. Let's see. I don't know if that one's ready to be done yet. Let's see. I have to take photos of 2 locations. Great. Ow. Let's go take these photos.
Ignis's cooking really is a class above.
You reckon?
What, you don't think so?
Seems pretty normal to me.
To royalty, maybe. To us plebes, it's anything but.
Okay, now let's hop in our car.
It's rather dark out. You sure you can handle this?
I can see fine. Take a load off for a while.
And one thing, it wasn't originally going to be 4, it was going to be 5. Main characters with other characters coming in and out of the party every now and again. That was the original plan. But the 5th member was pushed as a side character in the final game. But the 4 we've got here are, the blonde is Prompto. He is a up-and-coming professional photographer. He takes pictures. But he's the armsman. He's the guy with all the guns. He could switch between different guns and use different firearms and all that. Then we've got the big boy in the back with all the muscles and tattoos. That's Gladius. He's the guy who primarily goes with 2-handed weapons, mostly swords. And then there's Ignis. He wields daggers and mostly uses, as a sidearm, lances. Gladiolus also has sidearms, but his are more like defensive sidearms. They're shields. So he uses shields as a sidearm, and Prompto uses tools. The one exception is the main character here, Noctis, who I'm currently having driving. His whole gig is that he is the son of the king, and the kings, or every king in this universe, in the world in which this takes place, Eos or whatever, has an ability and a compatibility with every weapon type and fighting style. There's my Dragon Ball Xenoverse just downloaded there. So he can fight and take on anyone in any style or situation. Now, another thing to note is he also has the ability to phase, and it's the power really only the kings have. He also has his ability to summon the summons in the game, which are known as In this game, astrals. In other games, either eidolons. There was one where it was called aeons. That was Final Fantasy X. They were named aeons, and
Everybody out.
uh, mostly they. I'm just gonna pull over here so I can finish my
Who's up for a hike?
thing before crashing the car. Um, and mostly it was one or the other. Like they were even sometimes just called summons. They didn't have a special name, especially in earlier games. But we're gonna hop this fence and we're just gonna look at the characters. Shine lights in their eyes. Um, but yeah. Uh, I would have to say, if going by just you know uh the different kinds of summons per game and what kind of summons are available, I would say this one has some of the least amount of summons, but the summons look incredible. That's the whole thing. Is there's 6 main ones, and then there's one you can get if you competed in the event. And while the event was still happening, there was a crossover with Final Fantasy 14. They did a special event, crossover event with them, and that's how you get that one and the costumes that you saw me in at the start. Now, Noctis does have a semi godlike mode where he becomes impervious to damage and can fling weapons at you like a madman. The weapons constantly floating and circling around him, being able to summon them whenever he will, whenever he feels like summoning them, and like it's just a thing. Um, it's like he controls them with his mind or something, and he'll summon them whenever he needs to, um, like when it's convenient. So that's something. Um, let's get back into the car so I can continue the journey
Time
to
to
wherever
go.
this fucking marker on the map is leading me. Where the fuck are we anyway? Oh, we're not too far away. We just have to go down here and then back up here. And then all the way to here. And then that's where we take the photo from. Anyway, so yeah, it's naturally not all that hard. Actually, can we just... Yeah, there we go. Make it quicker. And so yeah, it's naturally not all that hard. It's to get to understand. He's the special one because he's descended from this long line of kings. He's going to be somewhat important and special. So a lot of the main powers go to him. Um, although the others do. Oh shit! Almost crashed there. The the others do not lag behind in power at all themselves. They are they all do have their own special quirks, and um, are all strong enough in their own right. They're able to keep up with Noctis. So yeah, that's really all I have to say on that. If they're able to keep up with him, they're doing well. Um, but no, I would have to say, you know, out of this group dynamic, Ignis is like Ignis is like the mother of the group. He's always worrying about Noctis. He's always worrying about Prompto. He's he's one of the people who's been around Noctis the longest, and he's also been one of the people who's been around what's his name? Uh, Gladio the longest. So those three have a longer connection to each other than Noctis and Prompto. But Noctis and Prompto have been friends
Everybody out.
since school. So ever since
This should be a
school,
nice change of pace.
they've been friends with one another, and it, it's just that like brotherly bond and friendship they've had. Um, it's not like like all of them have a brotherly bond and friendship with one another, but Promptos and Noctis is more true to that because Prompto and Noctis are more close in age than they are to Ignis and Gladio. In in the case of Ignis and Gladio, why am I walking? I have to like down here. Like why? It's gonna be another long while before we can start walking. Why did I get out of the car? Um, because Gladio and Ignis are a lot older than, the two of them. Uh, but it doesn't make them all like older and younger, like a wide margin. No, I would say like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years apart with those two. And on the subject of that, Gladio is more like the dad. He's kind of like the supportive father, and also the one who tells you to stop whining, like shut up, stop whining, and just get on with it. The longer you whine and bitch about something, the less the job gets done. He's the kind of guy who tells you to man up and just move on with things. Uh, Prompto is a little bit of a jokester and a prankster, but he can also be serious at times. He is very, very much not the kind of person who likes the idea of, you know, of his friends being sad and upset. So he acts like a goofball, but there are moments in the story where he's really, really serious. He's always the kind of person who's trying to lighten the mood, to make things not as harshly done. Like if something serious happens, he doesn't want people to, like the rest of his friends, to kind of like feel down in the dumps and depressed.
Let's hit up the shop.
Fuck.
Sounds reasonable enough.
Do the thing. Thank you.
Are you joining us?
And Noctis, you see, Noctis is a teenager who he's the kind of guy that really, really, he wants to get things done and over with as soon as possible. And throughout the game, he grows and develops in a way where it's all like you can see that he's learning from his mistakes. He's learning his lesson. You can see that he
Illuminate!
You're such a nerd.
yeah. You can see he really does have like he cares about his friends and everything, but he also wants to make sure that if they can do it now, then he should just do it. But it's that, it's that which gets him into trouble the most, and sometimes it's best to, actually, instead of doing like that first, like take a step back. And a lot of times it's Ignis or Gladio that will pull him back and be all like, look, we need to come up with a plan before rushing in. And it's like, he's all like, but no, if we don't go now, we'll be too late. And while he's grand to think that, and because of how true that can be, it's like, they do sometimes, like he does sometimes actually have to take a step back. But no, yeah, you can see here, everyone has their own thing, and it levels up throughout the game the more experience you get doing that thing. Like Gladiolus, the more times you camp outside, the more levels his thing goes up to until it reaches max, which is survival. So he's a survivalist. Ignis is the cook. So the more times you go outside and you cook and make your own food instead of eating preserved foods or whatever, the more his level increases. Promptos goes up with the more photos he takes and stuff, whether it's a photo taken in battle or a photo just taking it throughout the day. Noctis, the more you fish with him, the more his level goes up, and all of these play into secret stats, like hidden stats. So Noctis is fishing. The more you do it, and the more you level up that, the better he gets at being able to rein in fish, and the better he gets reining in fish, the more options he has, and also some some foods that Ignis prepares require fish, and so Noctis then helps Ignis level up if he can catch those fish. Um, I haven't. I don't think I've reached the maximum level with their special skills in any playthrough that I've done. Also, you can max out at 200 photos uh, just by default, without adding anything to it. Sometimes some photos are worth keeping, and sometimes they're not.
Hey.
Now, let's go take that photo before it gets dark again.
Better make tracks. Ignis, we're going.
On my way.
Take a shot from here.
Good call.
Now, the max level cap in Final Fantasy, as it is a fantasy game, and it is RPG, the max level cap is 99. The minimum for the final boss, funny enough, the minimum you have to be is level 45. But I'm like, it's a Final Fantasy game, right? You want to level up to the max, like to the max level as you can. And when you get to level 99, um, the maximum amount of HP you have is 9,999, and the maximum amount of MP or magic points is 999, which is a lot. Um, Although you combine that with the max level of uh, of stats and the max level of damage the best weapon in the game can do, and you could possibly go past 900 or 9,999 and break the damage limit and go to 10,000 per per hit. So you could be doing 10,000 damage, which is absurd. Um, so yeah, right now we're at level 54, all of us. Um, so we're not that far off from the 90s. Like only 45 more levels, and we'll be at the max level. But yeah, if I was to go into gear and go into Noctis, so you can see here his stats, right? So he's already in the triple digits when it comes to HP, and or the 4-digit numbers as HP. His MP is in the triple digits, nowhere near its max potential, um, but should get there by the end, especially with all the upgrades to gear we can get. His attack and his defense, they might not look as like all that great now, but that's because, again, that's due to the weapon I'm holding, or I'm currently hovering over. Like this does 853, this does 700. The different weapons do different shit, right? Um, They called this the ultimate weapon, but its potential for being the strongest weapon in the game is actually probably lower than these, which are actually not regular weapons. They come as royal arms. The strongest royal arm right now that I have is probably the Axe of the Conqueror. There's one I'll be getting later, which is just basically a giant great sword, but the edge of the great sword is a chainsaw blade. So, chainsaw great sword. This has the potential to be the strongest royal arm, just due to, like, while it lowers your MP and physical attack, it can change into nearly any, like, it can change into and mimic nearly any weapon. So, and when it does that, it can also take the benefits of that weapon. So when it changes into and mimics the great sword, it basically gains its stats, but they're not shown as actual stats. They're hidden stats. These are the machinery. These are all things that I was talking about, like the machinery or the tools. They're what uh, Prompto can use, and this is the only one that hasn't been upgraded to its fullest potential yet. All these have, and I've been waiting to see which one is the strongest out of them all once they've been fully upgraded, to choose which one. At the moment, it's the Circular Saw Plus, but who knows what the Noise Blaster will come out as. Actually, no, it's the Gravity Well Plus. Yeah. Um, you can get like a whole lot of different things with them. I'm pretty sure, isn't there a... I don't know. I thought there was something to do with that. Also, if you come across a certain ingredient, or if you go to a food vendor and Ignis hasn't... you go to a food vendor and you order some food, or if you come across a new ingredient... Okay, so that added new markers to my map. Not many. So you go into eat, and you eat one of these things. Ignis will take note of it, and he's all like, "Oh, we don't have this recipe yet, so I'll copy it down." Or we come across a new ingredient, and it unlocks a new recipe in his thing, and he spams it all the time whenever you come across something. And it's sometimes it's funny, and then other times you're all like, "Can you just shut up for 2 minutes?" But no, yes, I do believe we have the other photo op to do. Where is that fucking quests? I keep on forgetting sometimes. The crag. We're going to visit a crag, everybody. A crag. I know it's not called Craig, it's called crag, but whatever. It's better than Chad. I'm gonna take a photo of the Chad. Yeah, we're gonna take a photo of the Chad.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going this way. And yes, the car is a convertible. But it doesn't just convertible, it convertibles. See, the car that we're driving, while it is a traditional convertible, in the traditional sense, for some odd reason, they also gave it the ability to, if you go and see your car mechanic, to change it into an off-road car, which is basically just a giant fuck-off Jeep in the shape of this car that can go off-road. Or if you get to the end of the game, use the time-traveling mechanic, which, yes, they have a time-traveling mechanic in the game, go back in time, do a quest, gather all the parts, and then bringing them back, it can turn into an airship, which is mad. And it just makes you think what this looks like as an airship. And yes, I know my windshield is all scratched and the hood of the car is all bashed in. I'm going to go near the crag anyway, so I might as well stop off at the mechanic. The mechanic in this game, uh, Sid Raines, or not Sid Raines, Sid, yeah, Sid, and his granddaughter Cindy, or Sydney in the Japanese. See, in the original Japanese, it's Sydney, but in the localized version, in the English-speaking version of the game, it's Cindy. Um, Cindy, right, so the backstory behind Sid is, he's essentially uh, the mechanic that originally uh, worked on the car during Noctis's father's time, King Regis. But also at the same time, he's gotten old. So after the past, 15 or so years, during the time in which Noctis grew up to the age that he is in the game, Sid has retired in that time. And his granddaughter takes over all of the car-related duties while he takes over weapon upgrades. So you go to Sid for weapon upgrades, Cindy is for car repair and car upgrades. So yeah, there's two of them. These road journeys can feel very dragged out. Let's play some music, shall we? I actually like this feature of the game. I don't like being this zoomed in. How did I... Oh shit, I turned around. How the fuck did I zoom in? No, there we go. So, this mechanic of the game is... It's essentially like this. There's... Hold on, we're going in the wrong direction. Is that throughout the game, you'll find these stores. And in these stores, you will sometimes find that you can buy discs. Right? Like CDs or songs to play over your radio. Labeled The Memories of Final Fantasy. And these are commemorative pieces of orchestrated music that appeared in previous Final Fantasies that allow you to kind of like listen to and play those songs during your journey in Final Fantasy 15. Now, they've been in the game since the base game was built. Since the game was originally released, they have been in the game. It's just... they don't get enough credit as they are for being just something you can listen to when you get bored of just Final Fantasy 15's regular soundtrack. Which, its regular soundtrack isn't that bad. It's actually a pretty good soundtrack. You can play it in the car or out of the car, but to play it out of the car you have to get an iPod, essentially. Or an MP3 player. Which you don't get until much later, to be fair. So you still actually have to do things to get these, and it's not like these are cheap. You have to actually grind for money to get them. And considering the game starts you off with 0 money, unlike previous games where like in previous games, they start you with a little bit of money at least. And yeah, you can see as we go into an area where it's starting to somewhat rain, the guys will put up the roof of the car. So that's pretty cool. You can get upgrades for the car throughout the game and bring the parts back to Cindy and she'll upgrade the car. But you have to talk to Cindy to get the quest in order to do that. So there is still a lot of hard work to be done to get everything you can possibly get in this game. And yes, this is going up as a one-shots episode. Fun fact, I was originally going to do the first gameplay from this game as the first one-shots episode. But then I looked at it, looked over it. It was really bad quality, and I had to take it down and put up a new one. So because the first version of the first episode was shit, I had to take it down, I had to redo it, I had to do something else. But right now it seems like it's working fine. I don't think there'll be any problems with me putting up this as a new episode of One Shots. And like I said at the beginning, I'm very, very sorry that the next video wouldn't be God of War and then Persona in that order. It's just my PS4's acting in the plank. It's being a dick. It's not being the best PS4 in the world. It's really sad. Having to see your PS4 like misbehave like that, it's really sad. This is actually the main theme to the antagonist of Final Fantasy VII. Like if I do that there and start the thing over again, you can see the word Final Fantasy VII original soundtrack there underneath the main title of the song. So yeah, it's you've got a few songs from each of the games that were embedded into this game as like an Easter egg or a reference or just nostalgia purposes, yeah. 7 is proclaimed as one of the best Final Fantasy experiences to date, even with its dated graphics, but if you get the PC version of the game on Steam, you could just download and install mods and improve your overall experience. Like there are people who I've watched recently who've done kind of like playthroughs of the game. Like they went back and played the game recently again because the remake of Final Fantasy VII is on its way shortly. It got pushed back and delayed a little bit by a month, but compared to how long it took this game to come out, it took this game 15 years. So getting pushed back and delayed a month, which actually a lot of people are looking forward to the remake and what it's going to bring to the table. It's Final Fantasy VII, but just extra, I guess. It's Final Fantasy VII with a little sprinkle of kind of like sprinkling some nice dashes of revitalization, better graphics, better sound quality, better gameplay experience from what it looks like, bringing it back to more of a turn-based game rather than a full action game. Although it does look like it's going to be similar to Kingdom Hearts and how that was going to go down, with mixing turn-based with action, slight hybridization there. But also it's going to not only use elements that the original Final Fantasy VII that they claimed they would have included in that game if they thought of the opportunity beforehand. If they thought that that they were able to put like that into the game prior, then they would. There are certain things in Final Fantasy VII they thought they want to expand a little bit more on them. Certain characters who don't get enough screen time, they're all like, you know what, these characters in the original game, they get not too much screen time as the rest of the characters, so let's give them a little bit more. There are even characters in the original game that were optional, but and you can totally complete the game and go through the entire game without collecting them. But in the new one, it's not like it's not like that at all. In the new one, it's not that they're mandatory. You still have the option to ignore them if you want at the start of the game. But you get more of a better, you know, uh, it's not like you can totally miss them. If you miss them at the points where you can naturally optionally go to pick them up, a scripted event will automatically play where they will show up where, like, they'll show up later and introduce themselves. Because a lot of the final cutscenes in the original game um, do also have some pretty deep references to the characters, especially if you don't pick them up. It's a little weird and off-putting. From what I've heard, I've never been able to complete the original version. Final Fantasy VII took 3 games or 3 discs worth of game. There was 3 discs worth of game, and every time I tried to play, I would try to go through it and play it like it normally would.
Huh. Take a shot from here.
Oh, this lighting's no good. Maybe next time.
And I would go through it, and as I'm going through it, I'm all like, shit. And why would I do that? I would obviously because I did something, and now now I've just got to start over because it's something that can't be like once I go beyond a certain point, I might not be able to go back and do that thing. Like, there might be a certain event or a certain part of the game that you could play and do, but if you go past a certain point, you won't be able to go back and do it again. There might be an item that you could get, but you might completely miss it. Like, it's the kind of game that it's best to have some sort of walkthrough or a guide to tell you whether or not you've missed something. Especially in the earlier Final Fantasies. In the early Final Fantasies, it was very easy to miss an item or an event or something that would get triggered, but you would bypass it just because you weren't paying attention to it. So I wouldn't say it's the best way to do things. Oh, probably Sid.
Your weapon is ready and waiting for you.
Yep, there we go. So I'm trying to think, what kind of like.
Sup?
Take a shot from here.
Good call. Now
Like-
it's picture time.
What kind of shit could you really say about that? You know, it's like, in Final Fantasy
Ready or not?
7, a lot of people like the character of Yuffie, and a lot of people like the character of Vincent Valentine, just because of how badass they look, and also their skills come in handy. They are very good characters. In fact, some of the strongest characters in like the parts of the game where you pick them up. You can get Yuffie very early on, and once you get Yuffie, she comes in handy as the best thief in the entire game. Like, when it comes to stealing shit, she's really good. So equipping the steal ability onto her is beneficial. And Vincent, he's a legendary, when it comes to being the best, you know, wielder of firearms in all of the Final Fantasy history. Like his final gun, the Cerberus, is a three-headed or three-barreled, shotgun. Like a triple-barreled pistol shotgun. It looks like a shotgun, but it's also a pistol, or it's something of that nature. It's a weird looking gun, but it's awesome, and he does so much damage with it. Why you wouldn't want him to in your party? So when you can get that final ultimate weapon for him, he can have that badass thing and taking out enemies like no but other. Even his limit breaks are awesome. He turns into a fucking satanic creature from the pits of hell. You know? Not the worst option for a character. So that they make it so that you like while you can't avoid them forever, it's like you're not gonna miss them. It's like you don't go past a certain point and then you can't go back for them anymore. I think in the original that was a big problem where there were certain characters or maybe even items or something where you go past a certain point and you can't go back for them anymore. You can't go back and pick them up or do anything with them, or and that was that. There's even new plot points and things they want to introduce, new elements, things that they felt like in this version of the game would actually work for the modern, just for modernizing, just kind of like, um, the elements that of the game that while they wouldn't work now if they were to just leave them as they are. Um, they worked back when the original game came out. Um, like like there's a lot of things that are going to be different enough about the game to make it its own separate entity. Um, and just think of it like this: the original Final Fantasy VII is it's its own timeline, and then this one is it's a new timeline where things, for the most part, for 90%, 95% of the game, it's it's practically uh, a very familiar experience to someone who's played Seven. But for that other 5%, they are mixing things up. They're introducing new things. Um, you get to see a lot more of the main antagonist because in the original game, he only shows up at very particular moments and points. In this new game, apparently, with how much they're expanding on everything, whether it's scaling up the cities in which you traverse through, or cities or towns that you traverse through scaling up the distance in between them, to scaling up the landscape, like the cliff edges and the mountains, and how high off the ground the first city you start in is actually at. You know, all these things. That's what I'm thinking. Is like, okay, yeah, that's a thing. And I'm back. So you guys miss me? We'll be going for another
There we
about
go.
15 to 20 minutes. Um, sorry about that, lads. It's my computer was being an asshole. Um, where are we going now? Map. We want to go to here. Man, that was rude. Just crashing into me. Okay, let's see. Um, go some way this way. Uh-huh. 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 Hold on. I'll I'll deal with it later. Actually, no way. I should do. Okay, we're almost. Can we almost get there without crashing? Jesus Christ. I would like to just get to the destination rather than crashing into everything on the way. Like, it shouldn't be that hard, to be fair. That's, I think, the tallest mountain in the game. Our roof's gonna come down now. Why am I zoomed in like that? Wee! This guy's is gonna make you dizzy. It's just like that motion probably would make you guys go, "What the fuck?" Almost here. Okay, here's Hammerhead. Okay then.
Might want to stock up on potions and stuff.
Nice. You're being helpful for a change.
What do you mean for a change?
Okay. Didn't think I'd take that sass.
Well, ain't you a lucky one? I've got just the thing. She's a right mess. Well, just leave her to me. Y'all just leave her to me.
Yeah, it costs 500 gil. The
And
thing
this
is,
goes there.
ever since Final Fantasy IV, they changed it to gil.
There.
I think the first three was gold,
Good as
but then
new.
they decided, you know what? Every other, RPG in the world is using gold as a currency. Let's kind of make ours unique. So they decided gil. And I'm talking about like the original release of 3, it was gold. The re-releases of 3, Final Fantasy 3, are gil.
Howdy, Prince. How are y'all liking?
Gotta say, it's...
Well, ain't that grand. Truth is, though, the old girl's got...
Sure. What?
Can't say just yet. Every car's
And
got a
yes,
different
this
set of
this
needs,
is
so the only
this
way
is
to know for
Cindy.
sure is to take 'em for a test drive
She's
or
the
two.
female Sid.
Right now, we've got the regalia running at a steady purr. But we're...
A little more work and...
Mm-hmm. I can get a test track.
Leave it to me.
But yeah, no. Yeah, she fixed up the regalia, which is the name of the car. But her original name, as I said before, was going to be Sid. And she was
Oh, this
originally
social
designed as a
yeah.
dude. Then they decided to make her a woman. Hmm. It's quite a thing to think about. Because you don't think, you know, a character that was originally, or that was in the final release, a woman was originally supposed to be a dude, you know. You'd never think to, like, you'd never think about that in depth unless you were someone who was really into, like, studying, like the backstories behind the design of characters or something like that. Um, but it is a little surprising when you first learn about it. And the same with a lot of development decisions in the development cycle of this game that allowed the game to be delayed for 15 years. Because the game was... The game was... came out in like, what, 2017 or something like that? And it was 15 years prior that they made the announcement for the game, alongside the announcement for Final Fantasy 13. It was supposed to share a universe with Final Fantasy 13, but never did. Um, the only game that's in that shared universe with Final Fantasy 13, which is actually a pretty good game in comparison to Final Fantasy 13, and that's Type 0. Um, but I have quite a few things that I could do. I should be able to take this on the tower. So let's go to here first. Actually, you know what? No, let's go to the tower first. Quest.
Time to go.
All right.
Actually, you know what?
Hey, who's up for a bite?
This one. It should instantaneously teleport us there thanks to the driving of Ignis, because when you go into auto drive, uh, the AI controlling Ignis will automatically uh, drive the car to the destination. So you'll see him in the driver's seat after this loading screen finishes. And then I can show you some combat, and then we'll end it. Um, Come on, your loading bar is finished. When combat is in danger, approach them and press X.
That does it for the downpour.
What the fuck am I doing? Okay, this way. The only way to get into this tower, temple, ruins thing is actually to go here at night. But this is the combat. As I said, switch between weapons as you feel free to do so. Special techniques.
Oh, hi there, opening.
You're mine. Nice one, Prompto.
It's nothing. All right, no drugs. Me? Yeah, can't stand them.
Same here. Icky.
Yeah.
I just really like this song on the soundtrack that I can access anytime. So when this tower is all lit up red at night, that's when you can enter.
Time to call it a night.
It just doesn't have an entrance during the day. The entrance
Might
is,
as well get used to it.
it just doesn't exist. Now, once you're in here, you can teleport out at any time, but
I'm not
you have
scared.
to go to a certain
My hands are just
location
Well,
to
that was
teleport
fun.
out.
The fun's just getting started. You want to turn back
So
now?
this is the tower. And I'm out of stamina. Great. You guys gotta be honest with me. This is a pretty good song, yeah? I don't care who says it, but like, if you say it's not, you're probably lying, because not only was this hard work of a great composer to organize not only a choir to sing the lyrics, but also to organize his orchestra to get that very unique, very, you know, cannot be kind of like identified or as any other kind of like soundtrack sound. Like you know, it's a Final Fantasy soundtrack piece. Like it's a piece meant and built for the purpose of Final Fantasy game. And as I was saying, the earlier before I got cut out there is you get to see more of and expand upon the main villain of Final Fantasy VII in the remake, and that was essentially what I was trying to get at in this remake that was coming out, and I am gonna get it, like, no doubt. Whether it's a good remake or whether it's a horrible remake, that's still up in the air. I have to find out for myself whether or not that's how it is, you know. But it is looking really, really good, on the same levels as the Resident Evil
We can't get
remake.
sidetracked for nothing. I say we keep moving.
Wah!
I think I heard some monsters up ahead when we came in through, so that's always fun. And yeah, I was going to talk about what Final Fantasy would be the easiest for someone starting off to get into. How would you know which one is the right one to start with? Well, there isn't really a right starting point, as each Final Fantasy is its own secluded story, set in its own world, with very loose connections to the other games. And while the games share the Roman numeral gimmick that most most mainline games would have in the series would have, the not all of them with Roman numerals are single player. There's only what, out of all the 15 mainline games, there's, I would say, 13 single player games. Final Fantasies 1 to 13, or no, not 1 to 13, 1 to 11, no, 1 to 10 are single player. 12 and 13 are single player. 15 is single player. 11 and 14 are not. They are not single player. They are multi-player games. They are MMOs. They're online games. Now, Final Fantasy 11 for its time was the best attempt at one, and then Final Fantasy 14, its initial original release was not the greatest thing in the world, but then when it was relaunched and reborn as Final Fantasy Reborn, then that's when it actually became one of the best sellers. It's gone through so many expansions. Final Fantasy 14 Reborn, or Realm Reborn. Now it's at a, like, its latest one, which is it's at the latest version of its like, it's at its latest release, or it's on its latest release, which is Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers is the latest in all of the... Okay, what is going on here? I think I went through all these before, didn't I? But yeah, Shadowbringers is the latest in expansion for that series of games, that game. So yeah, that's where we're at. Gonna have to go through all these different routes that I went down before. So is it this one? Yeah. Don't have to, like, repeating myself, but okay. See, I've been here before. Now,
Where you're going? Didn't mean to do that.
there we go. I like this one the best. So these are... These are Final Fantasy's equivalent of slimes, gelatin, and flan. So flan and gelatin are the names of these types of enemies. this is my kind of like invulnerable god mode that I just activated. It has to recharge. Cooldown time.
Target the enemy's blind side.
And anyways, so I would say the game I would probably nominate as the best candidate to get you into this franchise. The one that's the easiest to play, but also isn't the kind of game that will scare you away from the franchise. It'll kind of get you to understand what kind of franchise Final Fantasy is 15, the one I'm playing. It's not the best game in the entire series, and as I said before, it could be better. There are certain things that it could have done better, but again, we'll see if they if the next game after 15 actually so what I was trying to say is we'll see in the future when 16 when we get the announcement for 16 and what kind of game that'll be. When we get 16, we'll see, right? We're just gonna have to wait until 16's announcement, wait until we get a release date, and then wait until we get it coming out. So the day that it comes out, and in between then, I guess all of the different like feature trailers, like gameplay trailers, for different things like mechanics and stuff. But until the next mainline title actually does come out, we won't know whether or not that's better than 15 or if it's the best game in the series. But for right now, a game that is great for introducing you to the franchise, that's not going to scare you away, that's easy to get into, especially for people who aren't used to RPGs, is Final Fantasy 15, because it's not straight up like the classic Final Fantasies where it's a turn-based RPG, which are a little... those Final Fantasies, they'd be taking a lot more time to get used to and understand. And if you were to just jump straight into one of them, like into one of those classic turn-based ones, it'll probably scare you away from playing the rest of the series, or even playing and completing the game. Getting into this one is probably going to be the easiest one you'll ever get yourself into, and then after that, it's up to you. Choose at random which one looks the best. Now, Final Fantasies. No Final Fantasy fan has ever said that graphics are what makes the Final Fantasy. It's the gameplay experience and the super rich story, and it's the musical experience that makes a Final Fantasy. If the music is great, the story is great, like greatly written, like the story has a great antagonist, a great cast of protagonists, and it's the like everything throughout the game comes with payoffs. So like the conclusion of the game comes with a great satisfaction and payoff. The midpoint of the game, that like every point in the game, if that comes with some sort of satisfaction and payoff, then it's a worthwhile game. That's what a Final Fantasy should be about. and then the gameplay, the combat, like how you traverse the world, you know, that kind of stuff is what we're looking for. Maybe even mini games, because Final Fantasy has been known for their mini games. They love to add in mini games here and there, all over the place. So that's something. And then to finish it all off, I would say the next best jumping point to go from here is to go backwards. I know it's not the best. It's probably not the best game in the series by far, but Final Fantasy Type 0. It mixes a little bit of the... even though it's a game that predates Final Fantasy 15, you still get to move around and control the characters in a similar style to 15. And coming from 15 and going to 0 is a lot less a harsher transition than jumping straight to Final Fantasy 10 or something. But after 0, if you get through that, which 0 is a lot more turn-based than 15, you go straight into 10. Because 10 is a good... It's a pretty good game. Even its mediocre sequel is kind of actually better than most mediocre sequels you'll ever get in a franchise. It's got a lot of character development. It's got a lot of story, like immensely rich story. Like the story is really well crafted, and the music is so beautiful. Like it is. Maybe give Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn a try. If you like MMOs, because it takes the turn-based approach, but it's in the style of an MMO. So yeah, but you'll be playing with other players if you do that. Then there's going back and playing Final Fantasy XII. They re-released Final Fantasy XII recently with a remaster, which you can get on PC, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, all the modern consoles. It'll probably be remastered, or not even remastered again, re-released. It'll probably be re-released for the next generation as well. I'm playing through it currently, myself, and it's actually pretty good. It plays homage to some of the original Final Fantasies with the class system, which I kind of like. Then you go and you take your time choosing which one you want next. The older you go, the less graphically beautiful they look, but they did do remakes or remasters of kind of like some of the older games to give them more modern visual flair, to kind of like allow people to kind of like play them without being like put back by the graphics. Like Final Fantasy 3 was remastered or re-released. Final Fantasy 4 was re-released and remastered I think 2 or 3 times. Final Fantasy 5, 6, all good games. Even Final Fantasy 7 and 8, if you now and 9 even. But the fun thing about 7, 8, and 9 is there's PC ports, right? And on the PC ports, there's mod compatibility, so you can mod the games to add graphical enhancements and enhancements and audio enhancements for things such as the basic sound effects and music done through kind of like an overhaul. So they took the original audio files for the music and sound effects and they done them up to make them sound crisp and clean and nice to the touch. They done things like improving the graphics on the UI, character models. The modding community is really big, and you can look up on YouTube the tutorials for them. Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 7. 9 is probably the one that's aged the best out of the three Final Fantasies that or 3 to 4 Final Fantasies that came out on the PS1. It's aged the best, and you can pick it up on the Switch and stuff as well. They recently remastered Final Fantasy 8. That's on the Switch. That, you know, the most changes I've seen with that though are character models. They updated the character models.
Everyone form up! Sure.
Like, rolling around like this is usually a great strategy. I would advise you to kind of use this kind of strategy of dodging a lot, blocking and parrying. It's also a good move, especially going up against enemies like this.
Look out.
Hold on. Okay, that was a lot.
I think we're in for a fight.
Oh, hi there, opening.
Get Prompto to use his ability. Tag in. Ooh. Royal Guard.
Watch yourself.
Okay, yeah, we're...
I can keep this.
Oh, hi there, opening.
Come on, Red Giant.
Feeling all right? Experiences. How are we? Getting by.
Here's my invulnerable god mode. It's called Armature.
Oh, hi there, opening.
And yeah, doing really tough dungeons like this gets you a lot of XP, so that's good.
Impressive.
Oh yeah, we actually have to go in here now, I think. I think. Do we go in here? How do we go in here? Try to remember. No, we have to go up there. Okay, so upstairs now. See, that's where the square is. The blue square. Where it's telling us to go. Up we go then. It's taking a while to go up, you know? This game is very aesthetically pleasing sometimes. It's not using the Unreal Engine 4, which now that after the release of the game, I think Square Enix, the developers, kind of regret they didn't put this game. Or, yeah, no, it's not that they did regret putting this game, but they regret that they didn't release this game. Build this game with that in mind. I don't know. Something makes me think that if they had the chance to go back and redo it, they would use that engine. Anyways, so yes, actually I'm thinking I'll leave it here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like the video, leave a like and a comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you want more.